So with 2026 fast approaching, only just over 2 weeks away, I've been thinking, what should I put on my UFC wish list for 2026? Because there's a couple things I want to talk about, and I hope the UFC do them, or at least some aspects of them at least, especially with Paramount Plus coming in. And I want to talk today about what I'm going to put on it and what it's not a lot of things, it's not very specific things. It's more like a generalization. So it's not exactly like specific fights or anything like that. It's more just a general idea of stuff. So want to get into that today. So before we get into it, please like and subscribe. It really helps out. And let's get into it. So first would be, if I can get it, first would be no Apex cards. So the Apex, I believe, is a plague on the UFC, or at least it was to a certain extent, maybe a couple of years ago, because this year it has been, I think they've done about 11 cards, and the Apex itself isn't the problem. The problem is the, I get the excuse of the Apex, and what I mean by that is that when the UFC don't need to fulfill, like an arena or something like that, they don't need to put on good fights because the Apex is like, who even goes to the Apex? I think it's like the fighters' families and stuff like that, and like and then I think you can buy tickets. Maybe I have no idea, but the problem is that when they have the Apex, they don't need to fulfill the seats. Therefore, they don't have to put on good fights, and we've seen that this year. Even though they have been 11, only like 11 cards in the Apex, or 11 events in the Apex rather, the cards have been really lackluster, and it kind of takes away from like when you've got like a pay per view and maybe a good fight night and like some, in like Las Vegas or like Florida or whatever, you'll have that, and then you see the next week and it's like, oh, Apex card, and you just know it's gonna be bad. Because like even look at I've got the some of the posters here. Like main event Blanchard. This wasn't even the main event for that one because they've like last minute was it Barber got sick or something like that? I can't remember what it was. Like that was the main event. I don't think people were lining up to see Vittoria versus Delice 2. Bonfim versus Brown, like, they're both unranked, I'm pretty sure. Bonfim might have been ranked. And then there's one hidden here behind the face cam, but it was Darren Rebus too. That was the start of the year, and it's like, these are like really poor excuses for main events. And by removing the Apex, it puts pressure on the UFC to fill seats in arenas, like 20,000 seat arenas, even more, 14,000, more than 20, 25,000, wherever they go, and that will give you better cards because people are not going to buy tickets if, obviously, this is just obvious, but people aren't going to buy to go and watch the UFC events if they don't have good fights on. So that's one of the reasons why I put it on my wish list. And I do think it would be better to see that. Uh, just the UFC, maybe one, maybe two, maybe at a stretch three Apex cards a year, and maybe if it's like they have a last minute thing and they can't go anywhere, then use the Apex, right? Whatever, cool. But yeah, we just can't use it. It's not the whole like you can hear them throwing punches and you can hear them all talking in the cage, but that was cool like 5 years ago. It's not really that cool now. Like who really cares? Right. Next thing, promotion. The UFC is in dire need of better promotion. And it can range from all these things I've got on the screen here, from posters, press conferences, interviews, and more importantly, this isn't really a specific point. Paramount Plus, I'm hoping, will kind of enforce better promotion from the UFC. But I'll start off. I'll leave that to last. Posters are like you'll get two posters that are like really good a year. The posters, UFC poster is you've got one guy on one side, one on the other, and they're just both staring at each other or staring towards you. It's never like anything cool. Like you think back to like the John Jones versus Daniel Cormier one where it's like they're all huddled in the and it's like the cameras facing up. That like though like more creative posters like that. Just cool posters because even if I go back to here, it's like these are the posters you're getting, and it's like one person one side and they're both looking at you. Same here. This one's a bit more creative, I guess, because they've added a bunch of shit. But this is like terrible. This is terrible, and this one was terrible. But who cares? So they need to just fire the whole graphics team, sign people who act like hire people who actually care and who actually can like give a shit. And because posters do make the event when an event happens, especially like a pay per view with like title fights, the poster can make the card feel better, if you know what I'm trying to say. If you know what I'm trying to say, it just I don't know, it kind of brings out this aura in a card, if you know what I'm trying to say. I just thought there, like, remember the was it Jose Aldo versus Rob Font, and they got the was it like they put their names. I'm just thinking there about the graphics team, and I'm just thinking that they're horrible. Sometimes they'll produce like a banger, or I don't know how many people. I think it's maybe one, maybe a couple of people work on it. I have no idea, but we need to hire fans that are good at graphic design, and that would be good. So that's for posters, interviews. I'm talking more about media day interviews on the kind of Wednesday before a pay per view, before a fight night, or at least a hyped up fight night. They need and on Instagram when they post those, they have that backdrop of like the press conference sheet backdrop thing, and they're interviewing on Instagram, and they're talking about whatever. The thing is, they'll do these things where it's like this trivial like games where it's like I don't know, say they're in I don't know, some random city in America or something like that, and they're saying, you know, can you guess uh, the location of this? Can you guess this place based off of a picture? And it's like, or like that one they done when it was like, uh, they blindfolded the fighters, put like a random object in front of them, and they had to feel it, and they had to guess what it was, and it's like why are we trying to like bring out personality in fighters? Because the fact is that most fighters don't have personality. Like a lot of them just are like normal people, right? And by normal people, I mean more like they just have like they don't have a over the top personality that's gonna make you want to watch the fight. A lot of fighters have like the way they fight make you want to watch the fights, but not really the personality. And yeah, they need to actually do stuff interviews, like actually there was another one. It was where it was I've mentioned this before, but Darren Till and Masvidal done this thing where it was like they were at like a table and they were talking to each other. Stuff like that needs to happen. Like where actual fighters have to they may like, and you see it with boxing as well. I think. Why has my alarm gone off? Sorry about that, but yeah. So they need to have like the fighters talk to each other, like talk trash to each other. I guess they need to have an interview, maybe like a half an hour, 30-minute interview. That'd be good. But yeah, so they need to fix that because when I scroll through Instagram on a fight week and it comes up with them trying to bring out personality, it is the most cringiest thing ever. And kind of to add on to that, press conferences are sometimes they're good. It depends who's on the press conference, who's fighting on the card. But it's not so much the fighters, because obviously the fighters, they can't help if they're good at press conferences or not. It's more the media. So you'll have like the media in the crowd and they'll be asking the questions, but it's like the most generic shit ever. You'll have John Morgan ask, "Are you guys or like your how do you feel to be in Las Vegas?" And it's like, what do you think they're gonna say? Do you think they're gonna say, "No, I hate it here. I can't wait to leave"? Of course they're gonna say like, "Oh yeah, I love it here," and then the crowd's gonna clap. Or like, "Oh, what would a win mean over so and so on Saturday?" And it's like what the fuck? Like what's that supposed to bring out in a fighter? And then there's a lot of stupid questions that the media ask, and it's like John Morgan from MMA Junkie, I think that what's his name, Kevin Iole, the really old guy. Him. Sometimes it's better when the fans when the fans get to line up and ask questions. That's kind of better because they like sometimes they like rage bait the fighters, and it actually kind of brings out a moment, maybe like a clip. But they need to publicly execute. No, I'm kidding. That was a joke. They need to they need to bar some they need to restrict some interviewers or some media staff from asking questions because in my opinion it kind of like just wastes the press conference. The UFC have booked out this 30-minute, which is actually too little. I think they should have the press conferences be like an hour, probably be better. But the UFC have booked it out, and then for like most of the time they have these like nothing questions getting asked. It does not promote the fights at all. It just wastes everyone's time. And then like when you watch the press conferences and you're just it's like a drag, and then you know You just hear Dana White saying, "All right, let's wrap this up," and our last question, let's wrap this up, and you're just thinking, "Oh my God, that was like the worst thing ever." Like I wish I didn't even. You wish you didn't even have to watch it because it just kind of ruins the look of the card as well because you're thinking, "Oh, they're gonna like talk to each other, maybe argue with each other, maybe even want to fight each other like right then and there," but no, you have interviewers just dumbing down the whole thing. So yeah, and last part on promotion would be Paramount Plus. So this isn't exactly a critique, it's more like what Paramount Plus can bring. So Paramount Plus with this new deal, what I think it was $7.7 billion or whatever. I really hope and I pray that they get the UFC under their thumb. And by what I mean by that is that I hope they really put the pressure on the UFC to start making changes with all of this stuff that I've just mentioned, because since there's no pay-per-views, Paramount Plus is the sole it's solely relying on people buying subscriptions, and that's kind of harder than a pay-per-view because obviously pay-per-view to watch you have to buy it. It's not exactly harder, but they want people to keep the subscription, right? Obviously you can buy the subscription free trial maybe for like one event, right? And or just pay for it for a month. What was it like five? How much is it? It's like 6.99, maybe more. It's not too bad, but they want people to retain it for a long time, forever, really. And the only reason they do that is by the UFC just having constantly good promotion, and that means you know having this kind of like as I said, interviews. They want none of this guessing what you're holding stuff on Instagram. They need Dana White to be promoting stuff. The promotion, I'll be honest, it's kind of already better. Like when they announced Oliveira versus Holloway, they didn't at like that the UFC 323 press conference. Like it was like out of nowhere. And instead of like Dana White announcing it on his plane and like 360p on his phone or whatever from Instagram Live. So if that feels like a Paramount's probably said to them, like you can't be announcing fights while you look like filming from a toaster. You need to have it look more look actually professional, look better. It needs to be in 1080p quality, HD quality, 4K quality at least. So I feel like it's getting better already, and the kind of deal's not even started yet. If you know what I'm trying to say. Starts in what January with the first 324, I think. So yeah, Paramount Plus, I'm looking forward to it because they're a big company. They can't be dealing with Dana White's, bad promotion or his worst because he used to be better. Now he's just kind of falling off a cliff. Speaking of which, final point is less Dana White, and by less Dana White, I don't mean I don't. It's not like I don't want to see Dana White. However, I don't want to see Dana White if he's gonna be like because it seems like recently all he does is not really promote fights. He you know, gets in arguments all the time with fighters, just there, or just now rather. It's like Arman Surukian, like yesterday or 2 days ago. He was like just bad mouthing him and saying, well, he said he doesn't dislike him, which is like the worst term ever. That means you just don't like him. Like, that's not lie. That just means they're not on the right page. They're not on good terms because of something that happened like 2 years ago because he pulled out. There might be something behind, or pulled out of the Makachev fight. There might be something behind that that the public doesn't know about, but it's he's the number one contender, and he's like saying all this stuff about him, not even giving him the title shot, or the interim title shot at least, and in the end just skipping over for Gaethje, but he just can't be. And even with Tom Aspinall, he after Tom Aspinall got eye poked, he was saying he didn't want to fight and blah blah blah. And then last week he said he never said that. He doesn't wish anything bad on Tom, or rather, he doesn't want to be negative towards Tom. He doesn't feel like he was, but he was. He was saying that he didn't want to fight right after that fight happened, even though Tom got eye poked straight in the eye, and he might never fight again. I made a video on that the other week, but he needs to calm it down with like just putting other fighters down. Like he'll do that to Aspinall, Sarukian, and then it's like John Jones holds up heavyweight for 2 years, and he's like he's like John Jones' personal maid. You know what I mean? It's like you know that thing where it's like they'll put people. Why is my cat? Hold on. If it wants to. Okay, my camera is now bloody. Okay, we're good. Yeah. So it's like the like Dana. Imagine Dana White in the dress and stuff like that, and it's like John Jones has his secret pictures, but that was a whole saga. So I'm glad that was over, and John Jones hopefully doesn't come back. Cause I really don't want to see him in a fight week. But yeah, Dana White just needs to get his priorities straight and stop bad mouthing fighters and do more promotion. Well, I don't know how long he's gonna have left in the UFC. Hopefully, I say hopefully because I do like Dana White. He does promote or he does produce rather really funny like moments. Like sometimes he has really good moments and it's like quite funny because he has a good personality. It's just when he like bitches about fighters and all this stuff, it's like that's when it's a bit annoying because it feels like he's not actually got his eye on the ball in terms of promoting because he is the promoter of promoting his own fighters. So that's kind of my. I just wish Dana White would kind of change up. So that was my kind of last point, but that's kind of it. Not very much, not anything in the way of fights or anything like that. I don't really care. Fights are fights. Will hopefully the Paramount Plus thing just forces better fights anyway because obviously, as I said, they need to keep people buying the subscriptions. So hopefully that will be fine. And yeah, so that's what I'd like to see in 2026 from the UFC. And thanks for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.